in video number 2. We are going to cover our second topic for this quiz. It's absolute value. So some of you may have heard of that. What is absolute value? Absolute value is the distance of a number to 0. Now, distance is always going to be a positive number. You can't have negative distance. So if you are -1, you're still one step away from 0. If you are a +1, you're one step away from 0. So again, it just means how many steps are you away from 0. So how do you do it? You look at the number, and these two lines here, this means find the absolute value. So what this says is find the absolute value of 6. So you say to yourself, well, how far away is 6 from 0? Well, if you had a number line, and you had 0 over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there would be 6 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the absolute value of 6 is 6. All right, absolute value you guys are going to like. All you have to do is write the number, but without the negative sign. So absolute value of -7 is going to be +7. How many steps away from 0 is it? It's 7 steps. Absolute value of -8 is 8 steps away. It doesn't matter that it's 8 steps from this side or 8 steps from that side. It's 8 steps. All right, now over here, notice that I put a negative sign on the outside of the absolute value. When the negative sign is on the outside, the first thing you do is find the value here. So what is the value of absolute value of -1? Is 1. But because there's a negative sign here, your answer will be -1. So again, this part right here is a +1. It's one step away from 0. But because this negative sign is here, your answer needs to have the negative sign. Okay, likewise, this is going to be similar. First, you find the absolute value of 4, which is 4. And then, because there's a minus sign here, your answer needs to have a minus sign. So the absolute value part is still a positive number, but this is making your answer negative. All right, and then finally over here, absolute value of 3. How many steps away is it from 0? 3 steps. Okay, let's do a couple more absolute values. I apologize for my teeny tiny whiteboard, but that's the best I can do right now. I don't even have a real eraser. Okay, so let's say we have absolute value minus a -51. You know, 51 is my favorite number. Minus 14 and minus 80. Okay, so the first one we have is find negative of the absolute value of a -80. So again, what do you do first? Find the absolute value. So ignore that minus sign. The absolute value of -80 is 80. That's how many steps away from 0 it is. Okay, but because it had a minus sign outside of the absolute value, your answer is -80. See if you can guess what the answer to these two would be. Minus absolute value of 14. Hopefully you all guessed that the answer is -14. And how about minus absolute value of -51? Again, find the absolute value of -51. It's 51, and then take the negative of that. Okay, so anytime you have a negative sign on the front of the absolute value, your answer will have a negative sign. Okay, let's pause a second while I... Okay, so our third topic on this quiz will be finding the opposite of a number. You guys are going to love this one. The opposite of the number means just put the other sign on it. So if it's a positive number, you're going to put a negative sign. If it's a negative number, you're going to put a positive sign. So I've done a whole bunch of examples. The first example is find the opposite of 3. The opposite of 3? Negative 3. Find the opposite of negative 17. It's going to be positive 17. Now with a positive number, it's not important to put a plus sign, but if you do, it's not wrong, it's fine. Either way, either with nothing, where it's understood to be a positive number, or you put the plus sign. Okay, our third example is 265. What's the opposite of that? Negative 265. All right, next we have negative 51. What's the opposite? A positive 51. Okay, moving to the next side. If we are looking for the opposite of 4, it's going to be negative 4. The opposite of negative 10 will be positive 10. And let's see if you can do the last two on your own. This is a positive number, so the opposite will be negative 25. And this is a negative number, so the opposite will be positive 1/3. Okay, our next topic, we're going to start working with adding and subtracting.